Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And again, listening to each of the witnesses, you couldn't tell who were the Republican witnesses or who were the Democratic witnesses, which again just emphasizes why this is a nonpartisan issue and it's in our national security interest, and we should certainly approach it from that perspective. Undersecretary Fernandez, we work pretty closely on the Mineral Security Partnership, and again, I think it is the right strategy, working with countries that share our values, take a free market approach, and obviously are have directly felt the impact of economic coercion from the Chinese, which again, I think we're very afraid of. I'm going to ask you about, you made 3 recommendations that we should be thinking about, and one that I've thought a lot about but I don't think we talk as much about is the recycling component of it. And if you want to expand on that and how you would think about it as we think about authorizations, investments in recycling. I think you mentioned up to 30% of our supply could come from recycling.
Thank you for your question. This is not my number. This is the IEA saying that in a few years, 30% of our minerals could come from recycled batteries. Right now, we don't have enough batteries to recycle, but in a few years we will. And that's huge. I mean, we heard before that it takes 10, 15, sometimes 20 years for a mine to come on stream. It's much quicker to do a recycling project. The issue has been that there's not enough feedstock in order to feed recycling right now. But so we need to put together incentives. We need to put together mandates in order to make sure that that feedstock exists. But right now, there are companies, the MSP funded and supported a project in the UK, a recycling project that the EU has also supported. There are opportunities right now, and it's yet another opportunity for our private sector to get involved because there's money to be made here.
Great. Senator Manchin, you talked about the various tools that we have available, whether that's the DFC, Exim Bank, Defense Production Act. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that? And I think one thing is this committee goes through the reauthorization process for DFC. What are some fundamental changes other than we do think we need to increase the limits?
Representative Bera. The question you've asked is a good question because basically what we have is a critical situation in our country right today. National defense authorization would be the way to go right now because you can accelerate, whether it be permitting that you needed for these projects. Permitting is something we've worked on very, very diligently. We've made some inroads, but not enough. In order to do that, to get into the rare earth minerals that we have in our country, I've always said this, you can't ask other countries to do what you won't do for yourself. If we have a cache of rare earth minerals, we should be able to mine them, we should be able to process, and we should be able to manufacture. And working with our allies around the world, we should do the same. You got to form a block, really, and basically a national defense authorization for the defense of our country. And this is what is at stake right now. Can we defend ourselves? Can we have the defense we need? Do we have the critical minerals for that, computers and chips? Do we have it for our economic growth? Compete in AI? All the things we're competing with right now. It's a race, basically, who's going to lead the 21st century and beyond. And the United States has been a leader. It's basically leadership's looked upon from the free world, and whether we survive or not. So with that, I think it's critical to use what you have now, but the big elephant in the room right now is national defense authorization. It allows you to bypass an awful lot of this and determination that we've got to have this done as quickly as possible, and it could be.
Great. And Undersecretary Fernandez, if my colleague from California, Dr. Ruiz, was here, he's bent my ear a lot on Lithium Valley, the Salton Sea, and the possibilities there, thinking about just the vast supplies of lithium potentially there, and doing it in an economically responsible way. I know he's talked to you in the past about this. Would you want to just expand on the potential? That is one of the poorest counties in California, if not the country, and doing something like that in a responsible way seems possible.
I'm familiar with that project, and that's a project that, like several other projects in the U.S., is quite promising. And I think we need to find ways of supporting it. The senator spoke about permitting. Both sides recognize that this is a problem. We've got to speed that up. We don't have the luxury of time. The other thing on lithium goes to the question that Chairwoman Kim asked about oversupply. we have oversupply is a temporary problem. Our demand for lithium keeps going up year after year, 10, 20% over the last five years. But the prices go down. Why is that? Because of oversupply. But if you look at the numbers, if you look at the history, in 10 years, the world will need more lithium, even with the overabundance that we have today. So what we have to do is find ways to help our industries, to help our companies survive the next 5 to 10 years. It's almost like a boxer hanging on for that round to end so that they can take a break. And so I think we ought to be looking at lithium, and we ought to be looking at the overabundance problem as something that we're going to need to deal now, but that won't be there, hopefully, if we do our job right in the next 10 years.
Thank you.